Three, two, one, action. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Light Bearers with the host, Gio and Mr. K. Ola. And today we have a special treat. Besides me, glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. We have a man with a very interesting story, very inspiring story, as all of our stories are, and hope that they inspire all of you listening out there. His name is Mr. Chrisman Hughes, and I call him Chris, but Chrisman sounds badass too. And we're just going to introduce this man because today's episode is going to be about fitness, one of my biggest passions, and I think all of us here, we really love fitness and the importance of it in our lives. And we're going to talk about what, in my opinion, is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, piece of workout or fitness equipment. And there's a reason for it because of the roots that it comes from. When I was younger, I used to think it was a gimmick because I wasn't really aware of such things as isometrics or dynamic tension. And I bought into the whole, you have to be at the gym, you have to go to the church, you have to come to me for the secret juju. And this thing is amazing, and I'm glad that it has been around for so long. And before we introduce our guest, I'd like to ask Kay about the Bullworker. What was your impression, and how did you first bump into or discover the Bullworker, mate?
Okay, so without making the story long, I was injured at the time, and I was looking for like a tool I could use to get myself to rehab myself, basically. And many things, they didn't work. And I just remembered, like years ago, a friend of mine had a Bullworker. I used to use it, and I really used to like the benefits I get from it. So I just decided to get one. I found one on eBay, or it might have been on Facebook. I found it, and I noticed I started getting stronger. I started seeing benefits. So I thought, let me join the group. But anyway, that's another story on its own. But that's how I got into the Bullworker. It was mainly for rehab reasons.
Okay. All right, great. Well, we're gonna get just straight to it. The Bullworker is this thing. If you guys have seen one of these before, we're going to introduce here Mr. Chrisman Hughes. So please tell us your story with the Bullworker, your discovery, your family's discovery, and your family's picking up the torch of such a great legacy. We'll let you just shoot on, take your time, and just blow our minds away.
Oh, I don't know. That's a little dangerous, but thank you for having me, Gio and Kay. Kay, thanks for sharing your story on how you got involved with Bullworker. And
Yes.
always love to hear from you both, and the energy you guys bring into kind of the Bullworker family and what you spread throughout the world and your region. So thank you. It's an honor. I would say for my Bullworker journey, I have to give props, my hat off to my pop, John Hughes. He was someone who saw the beauty of the Bullworker and rediscovered it in the late 90s and claimed the rights to it, and kind of took off from there right when kind of the .com was happening, right? And so in the late 90s, I was still a younger kid, and he was using these products, and every now and then I'd play with them or say, oh yeah, those are cool, Pop, but I'm gonna do my thing. And so I was lifting weights, probably started back in middle school, and then in high school it was sports, football and wrestling and soccer. And so football, the strength training coach required weight room time, right? That was kind of one of the criteria, if you will, for kind of your score as a player. And so really just kind of bought into the weights, and going into college, went down to the University of Arizona, where they had just finished up a brand new build of a new gym, and we're talking Pac-12 status. So lots of money goes into that gym. And I think it was rated amongst the top when it comes to university weight rooms. And So I got 3 years out of that because the first one was kind of like those old school, just sweaty, not too fancy, like let's just lift. But
I love those, bro.
I mean, that's where we should all get started, right?
Right.
Where we know, hey, it's not about fanciness, it's about doing it right. And so, I mean, I loved lifting weights. I loved working out. I was looking good, feeling good. And then after I graduated, I said, okay, I'm going to teach. And I know teaching wasn't something I studied. It wasn't something I've done before in a way. And so I knew it was going to take a lot of time. It was going to be very demanding. And I kind of went to my dad and I said, hey, Dad, give me the lineup. I'm ready. It's time for Bullworker. I don't want to spend money on the gym. I don't want to take the time to go to the gym, because back when I was in college, I mean, I was probably spending anywhere from like 6 to 8 hours a week in the gym. Right. And
what year was this again?
This was like 08 to 12 were the college years. And so back in those times, I mean, I was spending 6 to 8 hours a week in the gym. I mean, probably right around 4 days a week, hour and a half, 2 hours a session, also going back to kind of swim and do some other things, and enjoyed it. But then obviously going into the next phase of life, I said, I don't really want to put this much time, money, and efforts into exercise, if you will, because I think exercise and movement is very, very important. And so then I said, okay, well, let's see what we could do with Bullworker. And so I got the whole lineup, spent a lot of time with the Steely Bow and the Iso Gym and the Iso Bow. Bow Classic, I kind of leveraged quite a bit for my abs and some other things, but really was kind of diving into the Steely Bow and the Iso Gym. And I was busting out these workouts that took me 30 to 45 minutes. Really long one would be an hour. So now I just cut my workout in time more than in half, right? I'm working out 3 to 4 days a week, spending only anywhere from 2 to 3 hours a week max. And I'm feeling better than I ever did with weights. I lost about 10 pounds just because I lost all that bulk, all that unnecessary weight. But I was moving better. I was feeling better. I was more cut. I just kind of said, wow, these things are pretty damn good. What took so long to jump on board?
Right. Now that you're talking about the 2008, during that time, did they still have Nautilus Aerobic Plus, the gym?
I'm not sure. I'm sure they probably did, but are you referring to at like University of Arizona or?
No, just in general. It was just it's a chain gym. I used to actually work at a gym.
Oh, okay.
I got started into fitness. I walked in like a piece of bones. They're just walking in, bones with clothes, right? And there was this. I'm glad you're talking about how we all pretty much got started on weights. And so I walk in the bottom of this community center gym. It's in a basement. The gym was located in a basement. And on the first floor, you had like pool tables and stuff like that. And I just didn't want to look like that anymore, dude. And so I walked down and I could smell the sweat, the blood, and the tears. And it was one of those old, musty 1960s, 70s weight room, and they kept it up, it was nice and oiled. And all I could hear is as I was getting down into the basement, and then there was no lights going down the stairs, mate. It was just like this dark. And then I was like, wait a second. And as you get halfway through the stairs, then you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, literally the light at the end of the tunnel. And then you can start hearing the ooh, clang, ooh, clang. And I'm like, bro, what is this? What the hell am I getting into it? And that was
did the smell hit you first, or did the noise?
The smell hit me first, and then I started hearing the ooh, cling, cling. And I walk in, and it's just all these guys just getting serious. There's no ladies there, and it's just no ladies there in that time. We're talking about the 80s, and this was a gym that there was about 6 or 7 at the max. There were 12 people in this gym, and the membership was something as beautifully ridiculous as $50 a year.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
$50 a year, and it was a small gym. I mean, it was like Rocky Balboa's gym. And I remember I walked in, and this guy that was just super yoked, his name was Roland. he comes up to me and he's got his sweatpants rolled up to his knees. And then he's got his community worker shirt rolled up to like right where his lateral deltoid meets his arm, right? And he walks up and he has this total Mike Tyson voice. How may I help you today? Right? And I just looked at him and I'm just like, bro, I want to look like you. And he took me under his wing and he showed me. And it's funny because after that, I started working at Nautilus Aerobics Plus as a gym trainer. And going back to what you said, just spending all this time at the gym, I used to spend 3-4 hours just training.
Yeah.
And that's what you do when you're younger because you haven't acquired that knowledge or that wisdom. And then when you start getting the little secrets that even cats like Charles Atlas was talking about, like dynamic tension, you start finally getting out of that cave of illusions and seeing how the body really functions. And that's why I like the Bullworker so much, is because you're not working with it's working with you.
Ooh.
Right there.
Oh, the tagline king over here.
Right? What do you think about that, Kay? Tell me a little bit about the
So
way you feel it works.
I've got quite a few questions to ask actually.
Go ahead.
So going back to what Chris was saying, so you were spending 3 or 4 hours, or you was going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week. My question was, so what was the purpose of all that training? Was it for a sport or was it just for your own general fitness? What was the reason for you going to the gym that many times?
Right. That, I mean, great question. So I would say what kind of kicked it off was sports, right? Sports performance, squatting heavy, lifting heavy. And then college was kind of carried that lifestyle on. Friends were up there, and it kind of became more of a, I mean, common word these times, right? Like a lifestyle, right? It kind of became a haven, a social aspect, an opportunity to blow some steam, an opportunity to kind of challenge yourself and still keep going with things that you were familiar with. And so, I mean, I would say it was fitness has always been, activities have always been a part of my life. So now organized sports were done. So strength training and lifting weights were a much easier way to stay active consistently. And again, going back to kind of the social aspects. And then there's also the vanity. I mean, you're in college, you're trying to look good. You want to make sure next time you're going to a pool party that you're turning some heads potentially. And I'd say those were kind of the main reasons I was going. And I think that brings me to that point of, I think the fitness, the weight room is great. I mean, it's, to some people it is. I mean, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, calls it the Iron Paradise, right? A lot of people have it as, it's their haven. It's their jam. That's where they go to socialize, and kind of, that's their crew. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But as I got older and transitioned into becoming more of a professional rather than a student, and realizing, wow, time is pretty precious, I realized, wow, there are ways to accomplish what I want to accomplish with a lot less time, and putting that time back in my bank. So that was kind of the transition for me.
Yeah. Well, not just a lot less time, but efficiency.
Correct.
That's the thing. Yeah. Efficiency. It's not that some people say, oh, you can get this workout and get this done in very little time, but is it working? And the thing is, because of the science behind the Bullworker, where it's coming from, what is actually helping you get done are isometrics and dynamic tension, which happen to be the most efficient form of muscle training. And that's why physical therapists use it.
Yep.
Okay. Are you aware a lot, okay, of dynamic tension and isometrics? And if you are, what is your experience with them? Have you done them prior to discovering the Bullworker?
Dynamic tension. I think everyone does dynamic tension. You know, when you're a kid, you I don't know if you used to watch things like Bruce Lee, and you stand in front of the mirror and you start posing, and you know, flexing your muscles, and tensing all over, that in itself is dynamic tension.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, I used to watch things. I think is his name Charles Atlas?
Charles Atlas, that's right.
Was into dynamic tension. Bruce Lee was into dynamic tension.
Yes,
he used to do a lot of isometric stuff.
Yes. He used to sit there and push the frame of the door apart and hold it. And, he used to do like 10-minute contractions, man. But of course, when you do the longer contractions, you have to decrease the force output and then focus on your breath. The stronger the output is on force, the shorter the contraction is. And you're talking about as kids, I also, my encounter with dynamic tension was, again, being so skinny, I wanted to get some kind of little Popeye going on. And so I started when, I became a teenager, started getting into the shower and just doing this while flexing. And I'd crank out about 100 till it felt like a Charlie horse. And within and within a month, I had this amazing little peak. That's how I developed the peak on my bicep, not through weights, but by doing that. And it's amazing. And I remember during those days, because I'm a little older than you guys. I'm going to be 50 in June. And so in those days is where we had the classics like Arnold Schwarzenegger pumping iron. And, I grew up in Venice, so we used to go out to Muscle Beach and check out these guys.
Arnold as well.
What'd you say?
I said we watched Arnold too.
Yeah. Of course. But I saw him like even when it was exploding, when it was the shindang-dangs or the booty dang-dangs, and I remember looking at the back of the comic books and looking at that advertisement. And now we're going to get into that topic, is the simplicity of that advertisement and the genius of it, that still to this day, it stays the same. The Rock, Arnold Schwarzenegger, all those guys talked about Charles Atlas and how they discovered it. And it was like this, the thing that made something that made a muscle man out of Mac. I'll give you muscles in a few days for only a few hours. And so as a teenager, that's very powerful to you. If you're walking around looking like, the latest Halloween decoration, and I remember looking at it, but I'd already been exposed into weights, and through ignorance, I thought it was a gimmick when it wasn't. Okay. Tell me a little bit about your exposure to dynamic tension. Did you ever get exposed to that during your weight training days, or your football training, if I might say, or wrestling?
No. I think isometrics and dynamic tension were something that were kind of a secret. And then also when I was growing up, it was kind of, as I became more and more involved with Bullworker, my understanding is it was kind of something that the fitness industry deliberately hid and kind of shunned, if you will, because they couldn't make money on it. Right. So it's like, how do I make money on an isometric contraction? How do I make money on a Bruce Lee or a Charles Atlas type program? It's very difficult to do. Right. So isometrics don't work. You got to do this, you got to do that. And so we didn't really have a lot of exposure to it. And I mean, in wrestling, I guess the whole time you're wrestling, you are kind of working dynamic tension, right? Because you're always in that contraction,
yes,
pushing and pulling. And so naturally you are in that realm, but I didn't really explore isometrics and isomotion really until phase 2 of my Bullworker discovery, because phase 1 was when I was teaching. So I really kind of, one thing that I think is really interesting is when you give a Bullworker or an Isobow, even particularly, because it's much more simple, but it takes a little creativity. You give that to, say, a personal trainer who all they know is weights and all they know is the box, right? And they think, oh, well, what do I even do with this? I can't do anything with this. And it's like, well, it's because you're living in a box. All you do is what people tell you to do. You're not the personal trainer that goes out and researches and does his or her own practice and kind of exploration, right? And so a lot of times you'll give the Isobow to a trainer and they just pull on it. And like, oh yeah, cool. But what else am I supposed to do? And it's like, you could do pretty much anything with that, right?
Exactly.
And I think that was kind of a little bit of the mindset I brought in when I started Bullworker training. Was like, okay, how do I relay the training I did in the gym, but using these products. So I took a lot of those movements, and so started real basic, right? Okay, like a bicep curl, a shoulder press, a bench press, or something along those lines. And then I started saying, okay, now with the ISO gym, something the ISO gym really did well was that movement. And then now you have that dynamic tension ISO motion going the whole time. And then fast forward to phase 2 of my Bullworker discovery, and that kind of gets me to a little closer to where we are today. Is after teaching, I was done. I said, okay, I'm ready to go kind of take a break, go journey around South America for a little bit, learn Spanish and kind of immerse in the culture and stuff. And so I took off, and I all I brought was the Isobow, because it was perfect travel companion, right? It fit in your pocket, weighs like 3 ounces. And so I brought that and traveled through South America for 8 months. Yep, there it is.
Isobow, for you guys, if you don't know, and the Steel Bow is the mini man of Bullworker. Anyway, continue.
Duo.
Yes, sir. Continue.
And so now here I am in South America, traveling around. I mean, I'd be on a beach just busting out my Isobow or something, or and even in like a hostel, right? A hostel dorm, people kind of giving you funny looks, but at that point you're like, I don't really care, I'm doing what I need to be doing. And then I came back 8 months later, and I was like, wow, I'm blown away. I completely stopped all fitness activities. Now, granted, I was still active. I stopped training every other way other than the Isobow, and I was blown away at the results I was able to achieve. And I came back and I said, Dad, what are you doing with this stuff? And he said, I'm focusing on the main products, the Steel Bow and the Bow Classic. I said, this thing's pretty special. Let's see what we can do with it. And he said, been waiting for years for you to finally say something like that. And
oh man, Dad was happy.
Sometimes, exactly right. You can't. It's like in teaching. I mean, Gio, you're a teacher, and sometimes you just got to wait for it to click for the student, right? That you
can't force it on people. Yeah. That light's got to go on.
Exactly.
That light of discovery. Once they discover, all we can do is really just expose things to people. Maybe try to, okay, no, you're going to fall there. But eventually, if it doesn't click with you, you're not going to progress as much as you should, because you don't have the passion on it, and you haven't made a special connection on that.
Exactly. And it's, you can sit there and tell them how special this is, or tell her how special learning this stuff is and how great these exercises are. But until they just buy in, it doesn't really connect, right? And so finally, it connected for me. I said, wow, there is some beauty in these things, some magic going on, and let's see what we can do. And so then I moved into Denver and started working a data and recruitment job. And before and after work, I was kind of giving Isobow and Bullworker some efforts. And then I was really focusing on the Isobow. And then this is where it kind of gives me some respect to people that start a company or something straight from scratch, because nobody knows of the Isobow. Nobody heard of the Isobow. And so now I'm sitting here trying to get wind and everything and traction on the Isobow. And I'm looking over and I'm saying, well, these Bullworkers got a lot of potential too. Let's see what we can do with these. And then I started buying into those, and I only lasted at that data recruitment job for 7 months before I said, okay, it's time to jump ship.
Yeah. Well, not only can you do your own company, but you can work out while you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're doing something that's exciting, and not only is it giving you a physical payoff, I mean, a monetary payoff, but a physical payoff and a spiritual payoff, if I might say, because you're inspiring other people. You're inspiring.
Exactly. And it, like, education is still a passion of mine. It's something I'll continue to be a part of and continue to give back to, and maybe one day get back in the classroom. But right now I kind of see myself as education in the fitness world and the wellness world. And exactly that, right? If you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, you're going to be running a fitness company as your profession, I'd say, wow, pinch me. That sounds like the dream, because it's, and so it's a passion. It's something that it is part of me. And so I jumped ship and said, okay, here we go. Let's start seeing what we can do, and started tweaking the products, working with my dad. He's an incredible kind of R&D guy, if you will. And we kind of tweaking some things and improving the Bullworkers. And up in the brand, kind of rebranding, get it a little more fresh, because at this point we're looking at like 2015, 2016, and then shortly after, then we come out, we come up with the IsoFlow, and so fast forward, and now here we are today, and I mean, gosh, what a wonderful 6 years or so it's been. But man, the where we're going and how much momentum we're finally starting to gather, and the Bullworker family and community that's starting to generate. And I mean, that's what leads us to each other here, right? And just like you said, there's so much negativity out there that people focus on, and that's when we try to bring in. I know Mark Black, one of the kind of big guys in the forum, he says, Bullworker builds bridges, right? Bullworker is an international brand and it builds bridges. And I really kind of resonated with that. I loved it. I was like, yeah, that's the goal. Like, we're here to positively enhance the quality of life around the globe. And to do that, it doesn't have to be complex. And that's why we kind of came up with our vision and our mission of enhance quality of life with simple fitness. But one thing is simple doesn't mean easy, right?
No, not at all. It's very physically demanding. Okay, now that he brings that point up, because I notice when I do dynamic tension, any exercise, in my opinion, I notice that it's a lot more taxing on my cardio. I find it that I work out a lot harder than when I'm doing weights. Okay, and we're not knocking weights or anything here, because I got started on weights and I always have a special part in my heart for weights. And just like Chrisman, when I came on board with this, I transferred my knowledge of weightlifting onto motions with it, and it's worked out fantastic. But what's your opinion on that? On the
so that's
find it hard? And yes.
Yeah, that's we've been talking about the Bullworker all along. So people watching this are going to want to know, what is this Bullworker and what's the benefits they can get from it, and what's the difference between this and, say, weight training and other sport specific training. So the question is, what I'll say I see as my own personal thing. I see, like, when you do stuff like the weight training, that's like stimulating the muscles, it makes your muscles stronger. It's good for sports like, say, football. You'll be strong. You'll be a strong linebacker. I think that's the position they call it, linebacker, isn't it?
That's correct.
But with the Bullworker, I think you get more of a stimulation to your nervous system as opposed to your muscles. It's more of a stimulation to your nervous system and your tendons, if that makes sense.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously, when you do the Bullworker, you're not going to achieve the same results as you get from doing the weight training. For instance, you're not going to be able to squat 200 pounds. You're not going to be able to squat 300 pounds based on just doing the Bullworker. But you get a sort of functionality that you don't get in the weight room with the Bullworker.
Yes.
There's a way you integrate the muscles with the motion that you can't get out. You don't get that fluidity out of the weight rooms. You almost get rigid if you just base just on weight training.
How is that?
So I was going to ask Chris, man, basically, so what is it that the Bullworker offers people that is different, from the weight room and other kinds of training that are out there?
Yeah. So before I answer that, I think one thing that all four of us would agree, three of us, would be, we're not knocking weights, right? We still, I mean, I'll be the first to say, when I have someone say, hey, I want bulk, I want size, I say, hey, our products can help, but the weight room is where you're going to get that. The lift and iron, pump and iron is the only thing that's going to give you the best chances of getting big, bulky bodybuilding style stuff. But, and I think one thing that a lot of people kind of take from Bullworker is, like, you have to do similar to kind of the theme we talked about, all this negativity and positivity needs to kind of come in and take over, but you have to do one or the other. No, you don't have to do weight training or Bullworker, right? And a lot of times these weightlifters knock the Bullworker or Bullworker fans might say, oh, knock the weight room, and say, no, they're both very, very good. Find what works for you and go for it. And so what we say is, if the weight room is your haven and that's where you spend your time and love it, the Bullworker can complement that. The Bullworker can be something that helps you perform in the weight room. And whether that be you miss a day, you can't get to the gym, so grab your Bullworker. Whether you're on the road, grab your Bullworker, or you're finding, hey, I'm plateauing, I'm hitting barriers that I can't bust through. And then now this kind of goes to your question here, Kay, is what Bullworker does very well is it hits the connective tissue, not just the muscle, but the tendons, the ligaments, and that is what a lot of times are causing the plateaus, right? And so as you strengthen those tendons and ligaments, and then the mind-muscle connection, as you mentioned as well, now all of a sudden, if you are someone who's living in the weight room, you're pushing through those plateaus, you're pushing through those barriers, and so it benefits someone who's in the weight room. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, what I like to say is Bullworker training is performance for your lifestyle, right? Fitness for your lifestyle. That's the focus. I mean, I don't care if you're an extreme athlete or you just want to be able to pick up the grandkids and play with them. Your goal is your goal, and we're going to help you get there. And so that's what Bullworker brings, is Bullworker brings fitness on your terms, fitness on your lifestyle, doing the connective tissue, the tendons, the ligaments, as well as the muscles, the mind connection, and the neuro channels there that are connecting to the muscles. And what that does is it allows you, it gives you the strength for everyday life. It gives you the reduction of chances of injury, right? Same thing with weightlifters. A lot of times you see weightlifters blow something out because their muscles strengthen so quickly, but the tendons, ligaments, they didn't have time to develop like the muscles did. And
Nope.
when you have a muscle pulling on a tendon in a way that says, hey, the tendon's like, hey, I'm not strong, bam. And now you're looking at some serious damage done. And so I think that's where Bullworker, and in the traditional sense, the Bullworkers, the Bow Classic, the Steel Bow, I think those are kind of the benefits there. Is you have the ability to really hit movements that you can't replicate in the gym. I mean, one where you're kind of grabbing the cables and pulling them apart up here. The only way I can really think about doing that is grabbing the cables from the machine, cross-armed, and doing
Yes.
But otherwise, like, that's a pretty hard thing to replicate. And I think that's what's beautiful about the Bullworker is it doesn't take gravity, right? Bullworker is created by Bullworker exercise and resistance is created by the system of the springs or yourself. And so you can hit joint angles and angles of resistance that you can't hit with weights. It's a lot more difficult. And so I think that's a kind of a benefit to what makes Bullworker different.
Yeah, I'm glad you said about gravity. And I was talking to Kay about this. One of the reasons why I like this is we're already affected by gravity every day. And so that's why it's good occasionally to do inverted positions so that you can stretch out, because you get the narrowing of the joints. So it's just the effects of gravity on us, and weights they compound that problem and bring you down and stuff like that. Whereas that's right. Whereas in what I found with the Bullworker is it goes against gravity. It's pushing you away through the spring. And so you're not getting that damage from gravity, and you are actually mitigating the problems that gravity cause. And it's that's what I love about it. So instead of going down like this, that spring is, you're pushing it down, but the springs are like, nah, bro, you're going to the moon.
But in my opinion, what complements the Bullworker perfectly is resistance band. I think the resistance bands go perfectly well with the Bullworker, and not knocking the weight system. I would say that those two together are a superior system of training, because it will prevent injuries and it will maximize.
Yes. And as we get older, we want to prevent those injuries, man, because you're talking about the tendons, and we never hear, when you were a little kid, okay, when you started training, you guys ever hear of tendons? I never heard of tendons. I just heard of muscles. It was all the muscles. And little did we know that everything has a root. Everything has a source. And the root is the tendon. And as you were saying, Chrisman, is you start developing the strength and size of these muscles, and then suddenly the tendons get left behind, and you got that muscle pulling really strongly on a tendon, and pop goes the weasel. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
it's gone. And those injuries, it's not like a fractured bone where it just calcifies and you're bada bing, bada boom. Tendons, because of movement and muscle tears, tendon tears, they will be injuries that you carry on from here to eternity, mate.
Mhm.
Absolutely. No, very difficult. Go ahead, Kay.
The old school strongmen, they all believed in isometric training. I don't know if you've heard about a guy called Alexander Zars.
Mm-hmm.
They used to call him the modern day Samson.
Yes, yes, yes.
And he was all about isometrics, you know. And he's got a little book or something that he's written, and he says it that people always trade on the muscles, but really it's the tendons that's the real powerhouse of the body, the tendons and the connective tissue.
Certainly, that's what's going to give you a lot of speed, a lot of recoil, and absolutely.
Yeah, well, you know, he's talking about, sorry to interrupt you there, Chris, before I forget my frame of thought, we'll go back to you. You're talking about Alexander Sass. He used to actually train with weights, and during the war, I believe it was World War II, he was taken in, and he was in jail, and then he remember having this fear of losing his physical prowess, his physique, because of being in jail. And so what he started doing was just kind of like tugging at the bars.
Yeah.
Well, he got so strong that he escaped a few times. Of course, the steel and bars were not as developed as they are now, but it's still steel, man. And those were bars. And he was able to pry them open and get out a few times, and then bring him back. Then after the war, they finally let him go. But that's how his story was. And after that, he started just only doing that training. And you know that isotonic chain or whatever they call that thing. He's the one that invented that, mate.
Yeah.
And it was just a piece of board with chains, and then he developed a book. And one of his famous pictures is him carrying a pony. You know, people, oh, it's a pony. That's a pony, mate. A pony's huge. And
that ain't a puppy.
Exactly. It's not your Chihuahua. And he used to carry it across a river, a pony. Oh, I'm carrying my horse because it's wounded. Go ahead, take off, Chris.
Oh, I was just going to mention, I think one of the things, if you think about it in life practice, a lot of times you're not doing a traditional weight room exercise, right? You're doing isometrics. If someone says, here, hold this for a second. Well, you're not like, okay, well, I'll hold it. Let me just start curling it. You're holding it. Or, hey, lift that couch. I need to see underneath it. You pick it up and you hold it, right?
Yes.
And I think application for me when I rock climb, hey, I'm at a point where I'm looking for the next move and I'm holding it. I'm not sitting there pumping up. And so I think isometrics are actually a lot more practical to life than a lot of people think. And I think one of the funny things is that, I mean, you got all kinds of trolls across the internet, right? And it's always funny to see how they think they can get you. And as long as you either answer back positively or nonchalant or just ignore them, you win, right? And I did a video, I was down in Costa Rica, and at this point in the trip, I was doing some surfing, and I did a fitness video and I put it on there, and someone's like, oh, like, I don't know why you're hyping up this product. Like, you're not even that big. Like you kind of lost your bulk from a while back. And I just responded. I said, yeah, it's all about how you want to train. I rock climb, I surf, I do cycling, I do all these things where I don't want to carry around unnecessary bulk. It would actually make me less good at what I like doing.
Yes.
And so, like, if you want to get big, sure, train to get big, but size is not everything that I'm going for, and nor should a lot of people be going for it, right? It's all about what are you trying to perform at. And so I think that was also an interesting piece to the puzzle of people. I did lose 10 pounds, but I mean, my body's probably saying, thank you. I didn't want to carry around that 10 pounds and I wasn't moving as good as I am now.
Same here. No, but you're looking good, man. You're raising your arms up there. I was thinking like, dude, this guy looks like Bruce Lee. Chris Lee, bro.
It's all about functionality, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's good to have all the muscles and look good, you know, on the beach and all that. But if it doesn't work, what's the point of having the muscles? You know?
Exactly. Well, you know, and this is another thought that I don't want to let escape. As you made a point saying that things like dynamic tension and isometrics, and I also throw calisthenics, because calisthenics for me is my bread and butter. That's my gym right there. Beautiful. And what I did is I added this, and I don't separate them. I consider my calisthenics the weight pile, and this is the juice right here. This is what brings that secret power. And you're talking about it. There were hidden secrets. And recently they've realized that a lot of people started saying like, you know what? I am going to do some push-ups, because, you know, they took out almost all the weights from the prison system because they were murdering each other with the dumbbells, you know, but these guys still get big. And they just do push-ups and pull-ups and dynamic tension and work against the wall. And these dudes are looking like the juggernaut. Okay. So they get huge. And so people started what I've been saying also, and a lot of other people like, nah, man, I'm just doing push-ups and pull-ups. Oh, you can never get big doing that stuff. And now they have remarketed. They're taking those secrets now. And suddenly, I don't know if you've noticed, all these programs are coming out. Learn how to do push-ups. Only I can teach you the secret push-up. And it's going back, taking it from simple push-ups to now you have to like do push-ups with one pinky. I can show you how to do this. And they're mystifying it.
Or the claps.
Yes. And they're charging people now these crazy, ridiculous amount of money, like figures, to teach them the little secrets that we once knew and our grandparents and the old cats taught us. And you saw the people doing at the park. Now they're repackaging it and taking it away from the average folk, making gurus, making it more mystical in a sense, even though I like mysticism, but they're putting the secret juju and say, you don't know how to do push-ups unless you do push-ups this way.
Right.
What do you feel about that? Because that's a current trend now. You can't get away from it. Everywhere there's a new push-up program, right? Just push up.
Well, I think that's kind of what we battle in modern 2021, right? Going on 2022 is information is so easily found, but it's so easily spread too. So you have so many people that, I mean, always for the history of time, people want to make a buck. And so they see, okay, how can I make a buck? Well, I can't make a buck by doing everything the same way. So how can I change this and claim it to be the best and sell my program? And so they and that's what makes it difficult for, in my opinion, a bullworker, which I truly believe in. The studies back it, the users back it. People see it and they doubt it. Oh, that's a gimmick. That's a shake weight. That's a this, that's a that. I mean, whenever we get compared to the shake weight, I'm like, oh man, the shake weight would dream to have a 60-year career.
I remember that thing. South Park did a spoof on it.
and they were here today, gone tomorrow. And that's what you see a lot of things is fads, right? And I think going back to your push-ups and air squats and pushing against the wall, and that's what I tell a lot of people too. They say, well, you can't accomplish what I can accomplish in the gym with a bullworker. And so, well, it depends. Like, am I going to make you a Mr. Olympia bodybuilder competition physique with a bullworker? Probably not. But let's compare apples to apples, because if you're going to put an hour into the gym, you need to give me an hour on a bullworker. And same thing with the push-ups and stuff and the calisthenics, right? People think, oh, well, those aren't as good. Well, they're not as good because you're only doing 50 push-ups, which takes you anywhere from 30 seconds to 5-10 minutes if you're taking a break or two, right? But if you want to hit that hypertrophy and you want to actually get those results, you got to put in the same amount of time. And that's one of the things, that really bottom line is you spend an hour in the gym doing a bunch of different other things. That's why you get a lot of results. And then you try to compare it to doing 5-10 minutes of calisthenics. And you're like, well, it's not giving me the same results. And like, well, it's not giving you the same results because you're not putting in the same efforts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and that's also has to do with entertainment, right? Boredom is one of the main reasons a lot of people pick up and then drop a fitness routine because they get bored. They're like, well, I'm tired of doing push-ups, or I'm tired of doing this. And I think that's what allows a gym rat to really enjoy the gym. There's so many things that they can do. There's different ways they can do it. I think that's what Bullworker brings to the table too, is it allows you to do so many different types of exercises, different movements, different techniques. And it allows you, I mean, we always say creativity, your imagination is the only limitation. Like I show a Bullworker to someone and 2 days later they come back to me and they're like, have you thought about doing this? And I'm like, no, but that works. And that's excellent.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where we got to get back to, is understanding how do we keep ourselves engaged? How do we keep ourselves challenged? But we have to do it with the discipline, the mental discipline of knowing like, hey, it takes effort. It takes time.
Yes.
And so we are more efficient. We are effective. So what I have seen is I took my typical hour and a half, 2 hour day in the weight room, and I'm doing anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour on the Bullworker, and I'm getting comparable results for what I'm looking for. And so now I just cut my time into a third or half if it's a longer day, and I'm just as satisfied, if not more. And so that's what it's all about, is finding out what does it take to kind of get the comparable results I'm looking for. Because if someone comes to me and says, hey, I spent an hour in the gym, it takes me 20 minutes to drive there, another 5-10 minutes to change, and then another 20 minutes to get back. That's another 2 hours in my day. How can I accomplish similar goals? It's what, well, give me an hour with your Bullworker. I'll save you the hour of to and from and all of that. And who knows, it might not even take a full hour, but let's start with it. And then we'll be able to understand, okay, now we're putting in the same amount of time.
Yes. That's pretty good. Well, we're running out of time here soon. And man, this is gonna have to have a part 2 someday down the line, because there's just other questions. Like I want to get at the history of this thing, like the person that first made it. And to understand where it came from and how your family came in and picked up that torch and said, no, this shall not die. And just picked it up, dude. But Kay, before we let our brother go soon, any questions for him, whether it comes to like breathing or anything like technique wise, or anything you want to know?
Okay, so I just want to know, so when you was going to, I want to know the difference between when you was going to the weight rooms and when you transitioned over to the Bullworker. And is the Bullworker your primary training method, or do you go to the weight room as well?
Yeah, so kind of a mixed answer on that, a hybrid. I would say when I was teaching, strictly Bullworker gear. And then I won, here's actually kind of interesting. I won at the school, I won like a week free membership or something to a gym. So I went in and they kind of tested me to go over like, hey, let's get your base level and we'll build the program percentagely off of your current strengths. And they were like off the chart with strength. They're like, wow, we wouldn't expect this, right? And I see it all the time still. Like if a friend of mine invites me to the gym or something, am I lifting what I used to lift? No way. But am I still able to compete with them in those weightlifting things where it's like, wow, we don't really have to take off the weight and put on lighter for you. I'm still going in there and hanging right there with them, which I think is a very good testament to the Bullworker. But to answer your question, Kay, teaching in South America was strictly Bullworker. And then I came back and I had a rock climbing membership and they had weights as well. So I was hybrid, I was complementing it. And that's where I get the idea of, look, you can do both and get better results than doing one. And so I was doing that. And then about 2 years in, it was right when I started the New Year challenge. And I said, okay, it's time. Let's do the New Year challenge. And that's when I committed. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do nothing but Bullworker. Primary, no. Full on, just Bullworker. And of course, I still, again, gotta disclose, I still have my lifestyle. I was still climbing, I was still cycling, I was still hiking, doing things like that. But weights were completely out of the picture, done, not touching them. And once again, I mean, if you go back to that photo, you look at me and the amount of fat I shed, the amount of size I put on, and I was like, and that was when I just took my belief to the next level of Bullworker. It's like, wow, like I officially have put my money where my mouth is and only trained with my products and achieve better results. And so since then, I've been strictly Bullworker as majority of my workouts. I mean, like I said, every now and then I'll pop in with a friend who says, hey, come have a exercise with me, or whether it's lifting or whether it's on the beach or whatever it might be. And so for the last however long, 3 years was just primary full on Bullworker. And then now I'm probably going to start going to a rock climbing gym again. So I'll always kind of get in there and test myself with weights. And so it'll be interesting to see when I play with weights a little bit again. I don't think I'll ever go back to lifting heavy. I think it's just one of those things where it just doesn't really do it for me. And I don't think weights will, I shouldn't say ever, but Bullworker is going to be my primary exercise device. And it's almost using weights as a means to test the Bullworker.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, still working.
Yeah. And I do that too. Real quick, I'm gonna put you on the spot now, Mr. Chris. The lights are coming, the drum rolls coming. Anything new to expect, just like I am with Iron Maiden? Hey man, when are you guys coming out with a new album? And they delivered September 3rd of this year. Now I say to you, where is there a new album coming from Bullworker? Anything, a new product that's just going to take us to where no spring has crushed before?
Some platinum singles coming out. Huh?
Can we expect anything new, any new innovations to
Stay tuned.
we already have?
Stay tuned. So we just released, it's still on pre-sale. I mean, logistics and supply chain and everything are just crazy right now, right? So logistics and supply chain have been nuts. We just released our new S3 models, and those have switched over to, have you guys seen them? You guys want a quick peek?
No, we haven't seen. Oh, bro, dude.
Or the new model.
Yeah, oh my God, dude, we got a new album.
So here's the new Steely Bow.
Oh shit. Excuse me.
We've got the laser etched engraving now with the new logo. We've got we went to an anodized aluminum. So it's a lighter product, more corrosive resistant, but also more durable because we had to beef up the wall a little bit. So it travels better. Obviously new slick look. We went with a little lighter spring. We went with coated springs, so it's a little smoother action, as well as
are the springs changeable?
They're still changeable, same way. And we went to a lighter spring for the Steely Bow, right? So we wanted to make sure, because there were certain exercises, it was like, wow, I'm really not budging it much. And if I'm not budging it much, that might discourage some other people that can't even budget on the main exercises, right? And one of the things we say, and we've kind of continue to say, is don't confuse resistance with results. Because one of the things we always check your ego out the door, right? As cliche as it is how much can you lift? What spring are you working on? And it's like, it doesn't matter what spring I'm working on.
Thank you.
I'm working on my form. What's that, Kay?
It's how well you're doing is your form.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm working on my form, my body, and my mind connection. I'm working on the time under tension, and then the resistance plays a factor. But if I'm just focusing on how much can I push, that's going to throw everything out of line. So we went with a lighter spring that allows more reps, more holds, just easier access for focusing on that fine-tuned of the muscle-mind connection. The new look I'm really excited for. We've got another one that hasn't been dropped yet, so stay tuned. Once the inventory lands, it'll come out. And then we've got a kind of a little extra change to the Iso Bow coming out, so stay tuned on that.
Okay.
And then we've got we've got one more big surprise, which will likely be the last hurrah of this chapter of new stuff coming out. And I'm really excited for that one. I think it's gonna blow a lot of people out of the water and it'll blow them away. So you do have some new albums coming out. I think
major
maybe they're coming
tours
out as a single, but soon to be compiled as a full album. But the S3s, they just popped off, I think last week for pre-sale opportunities, and then they'll be available coming up in the UK, Europe, and around the globe coming up in hopefully 2 or 3 weeks. But supply chain is just a mess right now. I mean, we've been delayed, and some of our projects are continuously delayed. And so it's just kind of stay tuned. Nobody's more excited to come out with the stuff than we are, but we've got a lot in store. We've got a lot of plans to continue the physical culture and really continue enhancing that quality of life with simple fitness.
Well,
Christmas,
go ahead.
where can people find you on social media?
On social media, we are Bullworker Fit. So BULL Worker, WORKER Fit. That's where majority of so Instagram will be that. Facebook, I believe, is just Bullworker. And then if you want to join into kind of the really special family community we've got going, it would be Bullworker Fit as well. And then we don't really have a huge engagement on Twitter or anything. We don't really put a lot of efforts there. And YouTube would just be Bullworker as well. So, and Bullworker is on YouTube is something we're going to be pushing more content, more opportunities for people to learn, and then also leverage to kind of do their own routines. And then our website, we're going to continue to put out more information and really start putting in more efforts to gain that content for people to understand how to use the products, because a lot of times people do need to be coached, right? You can't expect everyone to have this background of, I know how the body works. I know how the body moves and what ways to strengthen. They want to just say, hey, I want to pull it out of the box. I'm ready to go. And I'm ready to follow along. So we're working on quite a few things. There's a lot to come, a lot of irons in the fire, but stay tuned. It's going to be exciting.
Well, Chrisman, dude, you have made my day, dude. I can't wait to pick up that new single and go and support that tour. And we hope to have you on someday. Again, the time is the limit right now, but I really want to hear the whole story. You know, if we can have you on again to hear the story of who was the bloke that invented it, where did its ideas come from, and how your family came in and picked it up and stuff like
Absolutely. That. No, I had a blast. Always a pleasure to spend some time with you both, and I'll be ready for the next one. This was an honor to be part of it, and keep me in mind for episodes to come.
Okay. And hey, do you got yours too, man?
Yeah, mine's downstairs.
Dude, we're gonna do a Bullworker salute, dude. A Bullworker salute.
Whole collection now.
Oh, well, anyway, we'll think of his collection, the Bullworker salute. May the bull be with you and keep it jungly.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, boys. Thank you.
So you go ahead and sign off first, because Kay and we finished the last 5 minutes through a little talking and stuff like that, and we'll get that one to you. We'll give you the link first on Messenger, and we'll take it from there. But I can't wait to pick that new one up, bro. I can't sleep now, bro.
Oh, I love it. Perfect. Gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your morning over there, your day. And once again, a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
Right. Cheers, mates.
Peace and love.
Thanks, Chris.
Much love.
Okay. Man, that was fantastic, bro.
Yeah.
I can't believe they got a new one, bro. Because I've been waiting for like one of them. And I think he had said something, there might be something. And now I just had to put him on the spot because, and I'm glad he talked about checking your ego at the door. And it's something that I keep telling people, you know, what people don't realize, even though this is very easy on your joints and stuff like that, it is working out your tendons, and your tendons will get really sore, and they actually take longer to heal than your muscles. So if you're not careful and you don't work out properly, and you're overdoing things by focusing on like this crazy amount of force on the springs, you know, you can develop tendonitis. And what's cool about the lighter weights, like anything, is that it really starts working slowly with your tendons, and you're getting the form. You're able to get that proper full contraction to involve the breathing. And I did want to talk about the breathing. So we'll talk about breathing on our next episodes. We'll talk about the, you know, the gurus and stuff like that, and the breathing and spirituality. But I'm stoked about the lighter spring, actually, because you can do some of the positions behind you, you know, and really work on that.
Foundations right, you know.
Yeah.
Your basic foundations right with a little bit of resistance, not too much.
Yeah.
You can increase as you go along.
What did you think about that, the new one, man?
Yeah, it looked pretty cool, like really slick, didn't it?
Yeah, dude, it looks full on ninja, bro.
I hope it's as reinforced as it looked.
Yeah. Well, you know, so far, I mean, these things have, I think they're built well.
Yeah, none of them are broken on me, so
no, they'll last. It, of course, keep a little maintenance on them, a little oil here and there, to prevent any rust. But mine haven't rusted. But if you don't put if you don't wipe it off, if you neglect them, they can pick up rust. And this one is, as he said, the one to come. It looks like it's rust resistant.
Yeah.
Yes. So
that's a more smoother feel to it.
Yeah, and that's something I think will improve the efficacy, okay, the efficacy of the movements. When the movements are smoother, I think you'll get a more efficient workout on the joints by really focusing on a slow.
You'll get a truer feedback loop through your nervous system, as opposed to if you had obstructions like rust, that will send a sort of vibration through you.
Yeah.
You pop on even the roughness, you know, and it goes through your body.
Yes.
So to get a more authentic resistance, a more clean resistance, you need it to be smooth.
Yes. And you'll be able to get more out of each little micro movement. Very
and people
slow.
think those, when it comes to the isometrics, believe me, because the isometrics is not about range of motion. When you're training muscles in the gym, it's about wide ranges of motion. Isometrics, we take the ranges of motion out of it, and you lock onto the contraction.
Yes.
So even with the Bullworker, even though there is a bit of range of motion, it's very short. Even with the long, it's not very long, is it? It's a short range of motion. That's why it's classified as isometric.
Yeah, well, you know what I do with that, as in Chris was saying, is, you know, I add those elements of the gym. So if it is short, what I do, instead of contract it, once I contract it, then I start moving my body with it like it's and it's, you get a whole different world. But anyway, before we go, because it is pretty late over there and it's good to get good sleep, what was the best thing you got out of this one? Because for me, it was like hearing like my favorite freaking performer, like the bass player from Iron Maiden, freaking give a chat about his bass and shit. And I'm just like, fuck. What did you get about it? What's the most you got out of it, or what's the best point you got out of it? The conversation
today. What I got out of it is that having fitness as a part of your life is something that is highly beneficial, you know? And that's literally the point I got from it. Having fitness as part of your life, no matter what the modality is. I mean, we're here advocating and talking about the benefits of the Bullworker, and we know there's many other ways of training, but the key point is fitness should be a life.
Yes, you know? And what I got out of it the most besides that is, even if you're within your realm, that dare to look out of the box, don't forget that once you leave the box, you can end up creating your own box. So never forget to keep stepping out of those boxes. Even if it's your box that you created, open the lid and step out for a little bit and check it out, and you'd be surprised what you find.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, you look sleepy, man. I wanna let you go so you can hit the bed.
It is late over here, you know, but
Yeah, it's early over here, and so I'm so excited. I'm about to hit a workout.
oh,
So
I think I'm on the bed.
yeah, you're gonna
Work,
do some
work on some
pillow.
Z's.
Yeah, you're gonna do some pillow metrics right now.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, thank you very much for joining at such a late time. It's not always that we do stuff like this. It is good to have a neutral time where we can both be energetic, but it's nice to have you on board. As always, I'm always a little bit more fuller of energy, even when I'm tired. It's just me personality. But on my side in Japan, it's 8:42 in the morning, so I already got my sleep. Mr. K, I love you. And let's rub those hands because like always, no matter anywhere, anytime, through frictions, through commonalities, we rub to get that heat, that warmth, so eventually we can bear that light. Okay. And peace and love, keep it
Peace
jungly,
and love.
and see you next time. I'll go ahead and do all the video work on it and then send it to you. Okay.
Okay, brother.
Okay. Cheers, mate.
Love, bro.
Much love. Go get your pillow metrics.
Yep, much needed.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.